maybe spend about 2 minutes talking about, we can actually start off with a few introductions. I think that will kind of set the ball rolling. And with that, I'd like to invite Baljeet to, start off with the introduction, just a short and sweet introduction, so we can kind of set the context and who we are, etc. Baljeet, can you hear me?
Hi guys, hello from London. Not very good weather at the moment for the Queen's Jubilee weekend, but I'm glad to join. Looking forward to speaking to everyone, especially about the football. But just to give you a bit of a background about myself, in relation to Sports Chain, I'm the head of football partnerships, so that's my role within the company. But apart from that, CEO of Inventive Sports, a global football consultancy. FA, so English FA and Indian AIFF licensed football agent, and also an ECB cricket agent. So really, over the last 10 to 15 years, been involved in various events around increasing Asian football participation in football in the UK. That's been events like the Asian Football Awards in conjunction with the FA. But since the inception of the ISL, have been heavily involved in player transfers and head coach transfers, and also looking after Indian players in India. So that's really me in a nutshell.
Excellent. Rahan, if you can hear me, if you can unmute yourself, a quick introduction would be helpful.
Right. So I'm Raihan, and basically, my introduction in this context would be that I, along with Aryaman, host the 18 Yards podcast. We basically look at a lot of football mainly, but yeah, love cricket as well. So yeah, excited to talk about the Champions League and the IPL with all of you guys today.
Thank you. Thank you. Ariman, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi guys, how's everyone doing? So, firstly, thank you Sports Chain for having me and the official fan club of Madrid on this platform. So, yeah, I'm Ariman and I'm here representing the official fan club of Real Madrid, that is the Bombay Pena. And I'm really excited to talk about the Champions League, and I'm really happy that we won. So, yeah, I'm all up for it. So, yeah, hope to you guys enjoy the session and really looking forward to it, guys.
Great, great. I'm sure you'll be excited to talk about Real Madrid and the final. Great.
Yeah.
So we also have Suhail. Suhail, do you want to go next? Maybe very quickly.
Yeah, sure, sure. Hey guys, it's Suhail Chandok here. One of the advisors with Sports Chain on the sports side of things, obviously, and been a professional cricketer myself, turned sports commentator and presenter for the longest time now, and generally a mad sports nut is how I would sort of summarize things, and I've found a way to make a career in sports. So yeah, glad to be here.
Great, great. So I'll go last very quickly. I'm the co-founder of Sports Chain, India's first blockchain fan engagement platform. Very, very avid football fan, very, very avid Arsenal fan as well, and been following football and cricket for a very long time. It's great to be here with all of you guys as well. So I think we can probably kickstart. Um, uh, Suhail, do you have the agenda in
Go as well, I guess. Look, we've got a lot of football supporters in the house, and I think given what we saw in the Champions League this season, it was incredible, man. I mean, it was incredible to see Madrid's run to the final. Liverpool, obviously, a lot of people wanted to see the quadruple happen. A couple of dented hopes there for sure that weekend and the week running into it as well. But maybe starting with Baljit. Baljit, who do you think had a more difficult road to the final?
If you just look at the groups for both Real and Liverpool, I think Liverpool had the harder group. Obviously with Atletico, AC, and Porto, as compared to Real's, which in my mind was fairly sort of easier. But then when you start to look at the knockout stages, especially for Liverpool, I think they had a very, very easy run. And even when they qualified from the group, I think everyone was thinking these guys are going to go straight to the final. People were predicting it was going to be an all-English final between LFC and Manchester City. But I think Real had sort of other plans. And obviously, last 16, they faced PSG, and then you had that whole Benzema hat trick. Then the the quarterfinals against my team, Chelsea. I was sort of hoping that we would have gone through there, but unfortunately we didn't make it again. But that again was over the two legs, a Benzema masterclass. And then the semi-finals against Manchester City, which everyone thought Manchester City were just going to go cruising into the final. But then that Rodrigo sort of a double in 2 minutes, and then Benzema as well, just sort of like that final nail for Manchester City and them making it into the final. So when you contrast both the group stages, Real Madrid had the easier run. When you look at the knockouts, obviously Real Madrid had the harder task, obviously knocking out sort of like, you know, the big guns, as it were. And then obviously the final, as everyone saw, and I'm sure we will be discussing, but the route to the final, I think it was harder for Real Madrid overall.
Yeah, I've got to say I agree with you. I think just the knockout stage is what Real were able to pull off. I don't think they had that in their plans either. But Ariman, really quickly from you, given that you guys are backing Real all the way, did you actually think it was possible at different stages of that knockout stage?
I'll be honest with you, Sohail. I mean, when during the group stage, also, I didn't even believe, I didn't even realize, I didn't even dream of, that we're gonna win the Champions League. Even against PSG when Benzema scored that hat trick, I thought, just a one-off game, we might lose in the quarterfinals. But I'll tell you when I actually started believing was when, when Benzema scored that hat trick against Chelsea. I'm like, as long as we have Kareem Benzema, as long as this guy's playing for us, anything can happen. So, that's when I started believing. And then, of course, then Rodrigo scored the last minute goal against Chelsea, and then he scored two goals against City. And then it just, we just kept coming back, and we just kept proving people wrong. We kept believing, and we won the tournament. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. But yeah, to be honest with you, I did not believe that we'll win it during the group stages or even during the round of 16 victory.
Yeah, you've actually answered my what was going to be my next question, which is where did you think they turned the corner? But Baljit, where do you think Madrid really turned the corner? I mean, because it's hard to pinpoint a particular moment, right? But where do you think that belief really came in to think, hey, we could actually win this?
Um, to be really honest, I think when they played Chelsea, the PSG win, like your previous speaker, sorry, I forgot the name, but I thought this was a bit of a fluke for Real Madrid to beat PSG. I don't think this year they've been a particularly strong team on paper in terms of also as well from their performances. One would have thought, okay, these guys won't go anywhere in the Champions League. But for me anyway, obviously, because I watched the quarterfinal against Chelsea, which is my team, when they beat us in the first leg, I thought, okay, hold on a minute. They do look like the real deal here, and especially with Benzema as well. I mean, he's really proved a lot of people wrong in terms of his performances in the Champions League, in terms of his performances this season in itself. I think he scored 45 or 44 goals this season, which is his highest ever. I personally think when they beat Chelsea in the quarterfinal, I think there was the belief then. And then obviously when they played Manchester City after that, turning that round. But I really do think it was the quarterfinal against us that really gave them the belief. I mean, I'd like to hear from obviously these guys who are on this meeting at the moment about when they think that actually happened.
Rayan, any thoughts on that quickly?
Yeah, so for me, I think it was either like Baljeet said, either the Chelsea game, but I think when they turned around the PSG fixture, especially when they were 2-0 down in the second leg and they came back and did it. I mean, sort of what that signified for me was the Champions League pedigree, and that's something City has struggled with,
Yeah,
PSG has struggled with,
yeah.
and he said Real Madrid have always had it. So I think that PSG second leg was what did it for me. Where I was like, they could they could actually go and go far.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing we can't ignore, guys, was the scenes outside the stadium. Liverpool fans having a really, really hard time getting into the stadium. And I know, Baljit, you're closer to this topic. So why do you think this happened? I mean, would the UEFA at some point think about using blockchain tech to avoid this? What do you think could have been done differently? And why do you think in today's day and age we're still stuck with these issues?
So when this was happening, actually, I had quite a few friends who were out there. Many of them actually went in early, and there were no issues. And there were some who were sort of saying that they're stuck and they haven't been able to get in. Some were able to finally get in at half time. Them saying, "Listen, this has really ruined our experience, etc." But initially UEFA and both the French authorities were blaming the LFC fans, but I think it was quite clear, even from the videos that we saw, the accounts, that this really, the organisation of the whole thing from a UEFA perspective was a total shambles. Yeah, because ultimately UEFA are responsible for the overall logistics around fan entry points. And I think as well, what was happening was the French police were, channeling LFC fans into somewhat of a bottleneck as well. So they were struggling to get in. There were many things around, UEFA, the French minister I heard was blaming LFC fans. They were talking about fraudulent tickets. Then you hear about the police and the way that they were handling the crowds, manhandling them, women, children, pepper spraying them, tear gassing them as well. I do understand that there were issues for both sets of fans, but I think more than the Real fans, the LFC fans really got the bare end of the stick. Now, speaking about, how can we look at how you can avoid fraudulent tickets? The football industry, up until this point, has just been looking at physical tickets. They've been looking at how do we introduce holograms into tickets to make it look more authentic. From what I understand, this year's Champions League, they had either removed one set of holograms, etc., which caused a number of issues. There are a number of gangs out there who are causing issues and a lot of fraud happening. But I actually think physical tickets should now be thought of as a thing of the past, and this is in my opinion. And using something like blockchain tech, really, I think, is the only way that one can truly authenticate. Yeah, so and I really think that clubs, UEFA, FIFA, etc., they really need to invest in this. And I think this is the only way forward. Obviously, looking at how logistics were handled, they weren't handled in the correct way. That's one element of things of how they can be improved. But then looking at how one can truly authenticate, and in my opinion, that's only through the blockchain tech.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's the only way possible. And we've seen this across, right? Not just with football, with Formula One as well, with cricket. Obviously, it tends to happen as well. But I think journeys outside and to a Formula One Grand Prix is often enraged with fans feeling the same way. But yeah, I think tech is the answer. Guys, just coming to that final, because obviously it was phenomenal to watch. It's just cagey, very different to both the teams' routes to the final, but a more cagey affair in the finale. And maybe Aryaman, starting with you, what do you think, or who do you think was the X factor in that final for Madrid?
I think the only person that should come to mind is Thibaut Courtois. I mean, if that guy wasn't goalkeeping for us, I think Liverpool would have scored 3 goals, if not 4 goals. I mean, they had some good shots on target. Mane almost scoring, Salah getting through on goal a couple of times, uh, and Thibaut Courtois just kept both of them away entire game. So one player that people are not appreciating much as they're appreciating Courtois, obviously, is Danny Carvajal. I mean, before the final was played, I kept telling my friends, Luis Diaz, this guy for Liverpool, he's awesome. He's a brilliant player. He's going to run past Danny Carvajal. He's going to put in some excellent crosses. He's going to come through on goal. He might score a few, might assist a few, but then Danny Carvajal, he had him in his pocket the entire game, and just commendable performance from the entire defense, and of course Valverde and Vinicius to come in clutch in a clutch game. So yeah, overall a good team performance. But if I had to pick one player, obviously is Thibaut Courtois. According to me, had the best game of his career so far.
Yeah, incredible. And what a time to pull it off as well. But yeah, also on Carvajal, I think it was outstanding to be going toe to toe with someone like Diaz, who, yeah, I think you weren't the only one that thought he'd run circles around him. But Ryan, what's your thought, man? Who was your X factor?
I think it's very tough to look past Courtois, but for me, the way Valverde played, because he's a center mid usually, but he played as a right winger. I think he did the same against City as well, and he was actually very very good in that role. Really almost nullifying Salah and Trent, because I mean the sort of threat those two have down the right uh, can get really 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 difficult to deal with. So I think for me it was Valverde.
Yeah, I've got to say, just a superb, top-notch quality game, and I think it's not often you get a 1-0 game where you're still sitting at the edge of your seat, wondering what could and couldn't happen after. But I think it's one of those games where you expected just the quality of football that we were used to from both these sides. Your thoughts as well on just where you thought Hardik Pandya was good, what you thought really impressed you most about Hardik this time.
Well, I would say I think the captaincy. Uh, you know, I didn't really see that him doing that well. I didn't see the Gujarat Titans doing that well. I, like you guys, had DC and RR to go all the way. But I mean, I was very surprised how early on Gujarat looked formidable. And I think within the first couple of games, everyone was like, wow, because the way he managed the bowling was fantastic. Because if you look at that side, there isn't really like, I mean, with Delhi you have Nortje, with Rajasthan you had Trent Bolt and Chahal. With Gujarat, there isn't really a player that stands out that really puts, as an opposition fan, puts you like you're scared of. And so how he managed a team that didn't have that and led them all the way, that was very impressive for me.
Yeah, I think also underestimated, right? I think most people underestimated Hardik Pandya as a skipper coming in. Most of us, I mean, we hadn't seen Hardik. No one had ever seen Hardik as a skipper before. But I think, I think that combination of Ashish and Hardik as personalities worked really well together. They gelled. Kirsten is someone who works in the background as well in teams. So, I think overall it just worked as a unit in terms of what they brought out as well. But just going to come to you on the future, right? I think maybe I'll turn across to our North Stand gang again, and then go to Aryaman. Maybe I'll start with you, Aryaman. In terms of Hardik Pandya, right? We're all cricket fans deep down. I know you guys are the Real Madrid fans, but surely you've got to take on the future of captaincy of Indian cricket. Do you think Hardik stands a good shot at it now?
I think he should stand in with a good shot, because like Raihan said, he was brilliant with his captaincy in the IPL. And to be very honest, I think not to put disrespect on any other player, everyone's brilliant in the team. I think Hardik is the best captaincy option we have after Rohit. After Rohit is done with his spell. But it's up to the decision makers. Currently, we have Pant as vice captain, Rahul as captain, which is pretty nice for the future because Pant is very young. But if I had my say, if I had to make a decision with a gun to my head, I would say make Hardik Pandya the captain because he was brilliant in the IPL and he has that since a couple of years now. I think from the Australia tour in 2020 where he was in superb form. I think he's had this sense of calmness around him which he didn't have earlier. And now he's making those tough decisions for the team, whether it be bowling in the power play himself or pushing him, changing his entire game. Because earlier he was only finishing against Mumbai Indians, right? But for Gujarat Titans, he's changed his entire role, coming in a two down or one down. Taking the team and playing as an anchor. So he's made those tough decisions, and he has that aura around him. He has the calmness around him, which I think a captain needs to have right now in the Indian team. So I think if I had to make a decision, I think I would definitely go for Hardik Pandya.
I love the fact that he's bowling
Yeah.
well, he's marshalling his troops really well, also, and I think that's just it's brilliant to see. So, yeah, I
And
think
so
no one
to
can be
add,
disappointed about the fact that Hardik is back. Sorry, you were saying, Darshan.
yeah, to add one point, I remember listening to him one of the aftermatch interviews, and when we said that why Hardik Pandya, and he made a one brilliant comment. He said like, I want to emulate the captainship of Virat's hunger, Mahi's calmness, and Rohit's team management. So that's what
Nice.
he's looking at. He wants a combination of these three players as a captain, which will help him to take better decisions and to win the team as well. So I really like that statement when he made, and he was so confident. So that's why maybe Hardik for me will be a great choice in future.
Yeah, Vinayak, I'm just going to come to you on this if you're there as well. I know you're a big cricket fan. What's your thought on Gujarat taking the title, on Hardik Pandya's resurrection as a cricketer, as a new leader in Indian cricket, man?
Completely taken us by surprise, completely taken us by storm. I can't believe what I was watching. The way these guys were beating teams after one another, it was quite incredible. And I think it's it, it look and when you look at it, it looks like it was destined to be, with the final being in Ahmedabad. But if you see, the whole formula really came together. The players that they bought in, everything clicked right from the coach to captaincy, to all rounders, to bowling changes. Every single thing clicked. And that for me was a very big surprise, especially if it's a new team that has been put together. I think we've seen that in the past when the Pune franchise came, for I think it was about a season or two, and you saw how difficult it is to kind of put things together. So super surprised, super happy to see how really all of this came together. And maybe a shout out to Lucknow, who also came close enough, and they
Yeah,
also got most of the things right.
yeah,
Please go.
they were my other picks to win it. Unfortunately, I actually thought they had every element, and KL at the helm was a great pick as well. They had someone like Gautam Gambhir from a strategic point of view, superb. Yeah, I'm glad they did what they did, and I think they'll just get better and better. To me, just chipping in with my MVP of the season. For me, I can't look past Joss Butler. I thought he was incredible to watch. I just thought the way he came in on the big games, even after everyone thought, "Oh, Joss Butler's done." Midway through the season, he fought that slump. He came back and got even better, in fact, and took them to where they were. And for me, one young man to watch out for, Tilak Varma. I think while we're talking about Umran Malik and the Mohsin Khans and the fieriness of those fast bowlers, just can't ignore what Tilak Verma did with the Mumbai Indians, a team that was struggling. And here comes a young 19-year-old who just held things together like the glue that they needed and found a way to accelerate. So he's going to be, for me, one to watch.
I think we can do this as a round for everyone else as well. Archon, do you want to go next? Your MVP for IPL and emerging talent.
I think for MVP for me again it has to be Hardik Pandya. He scored at least 400 plus runs and he took 10 plus wickets with captaincy. Wherever he wants to go big, he tried to go big. Wherever he wants to set the innings, he did his part. So for me, the MVP has to be Hardik Pandya. And again, I agree with Swell. Butler had a different season altogether, but for me, Hardik Pandya beat Butler in all-round performance. And talking about emerging talent, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Sohail over here, like Tilak Verma. We didn't even heard about Tilak Verma. At least for last year, we know who Umran Malik is, what he can do, what he can achieve. But Tilak Verma, it was just it was a surprise for everyone. The way he played, maturely at such a early tender age, it is incredible. And like what I believe MI did pretty well is like invest in youth, and that's gonna be their strategy for next 4 to 5 years. So for me, the MVP is sorry, the youth, like the player, the most youngest player to watch out for in future is has to be Tilak Verma.
Excellent. Uh, Ryan, do you want to go next? Maybe give your opinion on MVP and the emerging talent.
Sure. So MVP, I have Joss Butler because can't really see. You can't really pick anyone else when it comes to just individual performance in his role. I think, especially when he started off the season, everyone thought that he's gonna even maybe overtake Kohli's 2016 season, but obviously he didn't. But still had a fantastic season. And for the emerging player, for me, it was Umran Malik. Obviously he was earmarked the season before as well, but just the sheer pace, that performance against Gujarat Titans stands out. So yeah, for my emerging player, it would be Umran Malik.
How about you, Arman?
Yeah, I know everyone's like everyone said. I think the MVP for everyone is Joss Butler. Even for me, being a Kohli fan, there were moments where I was actually pissing my pants, thinking, he might break Kohli's 2016 record, or he might hit 5 centuries, but thankfully it didn't happen. But yeah, watching Joss Butler bat week in week out was a treat to the eyes. The way he played his shots, the way he constructed his innings, and the way he scored big runs against good teams, uh, even against RCB, the team that I support, in the semi-finals. But yeah, for me, he's the MVP. And for emerging player, Mumbai Indians didn't really do well this season, but the entire team has so much great young talent. Tilak Varma, like a few of you have already mentioned before, he had a great season. But for me, I think if I had to pick one, I would say Devil Brevis. He didn't play a lot of games, but whenever he played, he looked very threatening. He had all the shots in his locker room, and he also looked, for a person who's just 18, 19 years old, he looked really mature on the field. So for me, he's one to watch out for. And like people say, is baby AB. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays like AB de Villiers in a few years. And Mumbai really have a good young squad in their hands. With Tim David, Devil Brevis, and obviously Tilak Verma. So yeah, I think Mumbai Indians, any of these three can be the emerging players for me. But yeah, MVP is Josh Butler.